Hi, this is Sue from the Mountain Canary Company. Ed's going to visit with you about hand protection while riding in the backcountry or while packing. Go ahead, Ed.
Hi folks, thank you very much for coming by. This is again part of what we try to do is to give you ideas so when you get started out there. You don't have to learn the hard way like we have in many cases. One of the things is that it's so easy when you're riding or packing to get your hands in trouble. We're wearing boots to protect our delicate feet. We need to be doing something to protect our hands. Now, well, you say, geez, Ed, I just trail ride. Well, trail riding, okay, it's not a bad idea to still have hand protection. You ride along, you get yourself into a blackberry tangle or some tangles or sticks or stuff. You got to move them out of the way. Your animal's moving around, you're moving around. It's so easy to take a chunk out of your mitt. Especially packing. Packing, even if you're a drag rider, I suggest you have hand protection. In case you have to get off and get a hold of ropes or work around ropes or work around the animals or pick up part of the string to help the packer. Now, years ago, I was packing a string into Honeymoon Meadows on a Dos Wallops, and we had some problems. Sue was with me and Danny Darden was with me. And we had some problems. We had to drop Sue off down below in camp, and with a couple animals we had lame issues. And that's another story later. But so she stayed there, and Danny and I hot-footed in late, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we headed up the mountain. Well, you know what happened, it didn't last long. I did get over the last coming out while we were hustling, because it was 7.5 miles across Heart Attack Hill and several different places to get in, dump them off, and I boogied out of there like crazy because I had a bunch of punji bridges to get across. I had some areas to go through that were kind of dicey, and I wanted to have daylight as I went through them. I made it almost all the way. I got off over the almost last puncheon bridge, and got wrapped up in a hanging cable bear wire. And oh boy, there's sometimes things just go sideways. Well, in the process coming out, the lights went out. I mean, somebody in that country, when the sun goes down behind the mountain, it's real quick till somebody puts a lid on the box. You can't see nothing, no stars or anything like that, nothing. So, started headed out. I had to stop. I stopped and tried to dig into my fork bag at the time, trying to find a flashlight. Now, the trail there was not well beaten in. It was covered with a lot of duff. It was hard to find the trail ahead of me or around me or even see where I was, because we had a fork to take, and so I'm digging around my saddlebags. I finally found a flashlight. But in the process of doing it, I took my gloves off and I sat on them, and I didn't. And when I took off, I was in such a hurry to get going. I had a pack string. I had a flashlight. I had a lead. I'd steer Lizzie, and gosh darn, I never put my gloves back on. Just kept sitting on them. Well, Rosie, that was her first trip in the backcountry, and she was real green, and she was real nervous about water crossings. So there's one real steep water crossing we had to go through, and there was nothing. It was really nothing. It was just a little cut in a drainage, basically. As I went into that, she decided, she was right up next to me because she was green, so she decided at that moment, I ain't going in there, and slammed them on, and I grabbed on, and too late, zip, it went right through my hand. Well, I turned my flashlight, got across, she just followed me over. Damn. So I just got over there, turned the flashlight in my hand, and I had taken a chunk out of my hand with that lead rope, and I was bleeding all over everything. So now I had to stop and put Band-Aids on and bandages up, and so fuss. But anyway, if I'd had my gloves on, wouldn't have been an issue. So 99% of the time, 100% of the time I should say, you'll see me with gloves on. Now I don't like gloves with fingers because I'm doing a lot of rope work. Even if I'm getting off tightening up a cinch, I don't want that wad around my fingers. And so I tend to use fingerless gloves. Now I had a couple sets of fingerless gloves in my truck. They're really, they had a lot of patina, let's say, on the wear and dirt and so forth. The truck got stolen and they took those smelly old gloves. I hope they like them. But anyway, so I had to buy some new ones. Now, getting fingerless gloves that'll give you some wear and tear is kind of hard to come by. I found the best place to get these are Hardee's. You get them at Harbor Freight. They're made with a reinforced palm, reinforced thumb, reinforced lead finger, trigger finger, and they're boy, I tell you, I've ridden with them for years. I've soaked them through with sweat. I've soaked them through with rain and everything else. They're really, really handy gloves to have. Now, the thing about it is I also like on this type of glove that it goes up my wrist. So if I get a lead rope whomping around, it gets it around my wrist, I got some protection. So you can see I've got lots of flexibility, lots of protection. Now any pair of gloves you're wearing will work. Just don't go without them. But this is how I have found works great for me. Sue wore these for a long time, just like this. Sue wore these for a long time, just like this. And one day we were at REI looking at something, I can't remember what it was, packaged food or something. REI is a outfitter store for hikers and such. And so she got snooping around over there in the gloves. She got looking at climber's gloves. So she found a pair of these climber's gloves. And it works for her better. Works really good. So you can see that these are reinforced in here where she'd take a beating from a rope and she keeps them, instead of forgetting them, which we always are forgetful anymore, they were made with a hole in them. And so I just grabbed an aluminum carabiner I had here, hooked it onto her saddle, and that's where they are. She's always got her gloves. And mine sit right on the right next to front of my seat in the truck on the floor. I can see them, and usually before I go packing, I'll have everything set along the side of the truck, and if they're not there, I know they're not there. And so now that's just part of I'm really pushing. Don't get involved without gloves. You could pay for it badly, and it works so much better, even on your reins. Even it's just so much better. Now, there's one other thing too. These kind of gloves are not very warm. So when you get going, if the weather turns on you, raining, spitting snow or ice, you're going to notice real quick that these aren't going to work for you. Now, if you have wool gloves, you put wool gloves on. Put wool gloves on. They'll help a lot more than these will. They won't give you a lot of protection in your palms, but they will help with warmth. Another thing is what we've done is, what Sue did was, good old Sue, Sue bought a sock knitter. I think that's what it's called, isn't it, right?
Addie Knitter.
Yeah, it's for making like socks.
Addie King.
And hats and so forth. So I said, well, can't you make a pair of these like wraps or fingerless type gloves? She said, sure, we can do that. And I thought, well, wow, if I was packing, when I'm packing or riding, if the weather turns on me, and necessarily you don't want to stop, get off. If you got a pack string, you don't want to stop and get off because the animals will start milling around. You got to pick a good spot to stop. You may have to tie up the pack string. It's a lot of moving parts. If you're riding with a group of people, now you got to ask people to stop so you get in your saddlebag. We'll keep these in my fork bag where I get to them, and or pockets on my coat where I can get to them. And all you do with that case is, if these can stretch these, we gotta. The ones that she's going to replace these with won't be as tight around the top, but you can slip these right over your riding gloves. Now, you've got some serious warmth protection. When she makes these are double thickness. So she'll make a sheet, turn them over, and just sew the thumbs in. You can do this with your knitting, you can do this crocheting, you can do all kinds of things. But they can be made, these are acrylic. She's got a pair made for me for wool. Man, there are times when I was running a pack string, if I could have stopped and dragged these things out and put them on, just stop for a few minutes, or even I could even put them on moving. Set on my lead rope, drop my reins, talk to my ride mule, talk to my mule back here to cool them down, get out, get these things on. Boy, I would have loved it. Your hands take a beating. Sometimes I've had my hands actually turn blue from the cold. So this is just a real interesting way to approach some of these problems. Now, again, though, protection while you're riding, you're on a 1,000-pound or so mule or horse. And when they bump into things, or when you try to stop your hands from things, or when you go pick up things, it's not like going out of the carport or garage to do something. Things are moving, there's pressure, there's all kinds of things going on. So you want to give yourself as much protection as you can. And again, these give me the dexterity with my fingers to go back and pull ropes, disconnect things, work on things if they get cinched up tight. They're still going to be flexible. If I have regular full-length gloves, I feel that I won't have the dexterity. Okay, let me think here. Sue, this is part of your department. What do you think?
No, what you can buy these. You can look online. You can find these kind of gloves, or you can make them if you knit or crochet. You don't need a machine like I just bought.
These
And yeah, the
fingerless,
fingerless.
no finger almost.
Yeah, so you can buy them if you don't knit or crochet, and they might come in all kinds of materials.
Wow, I like the color. Wild.
The one thing I don't like about them though is you can put them on and your hands are really warm, but if I put them over my work gloves, my fingers get cold. So I would like to make something to go over my fingers to warm them up.
She needs mitts.
I need mitts, but then you can't really feed with mitts.
Well, what she's talking about is we've been wearing these since she started making them. Going to the barn in the morning at night when it's snow or it's raining or cold or nasty, to put over our regular work gloves, which are cloth. They're cloth with rubberized fingers and palms. The thing I found I like about these over heavy gloves that are lined is that first I got more flexibility if I'm working in the barn again, or that those gloves are usually leather or similar type material with a lining in them that gets that gets wet. Now around here, getting wet is just called normal, but they don't necessarily dry out really well, and they'll start getting mildew and rough, and or they can actually start picking up some bacteria that are going to eat on your hands. Over the years, I've had that start to show up a little bit. So this, working with these on and my regular gloves that I wear everywhere, which are rubberized, and grab me one, huh? Just grab one over there, which are kind of a rubberized normal glove. These don't work too well. This type of glove doesn't work too well in the saddle. It's just doesn't work that well as far as I'm concerned. You can see these get fairly well worn, but so we just put these on and slide these in the morning or after evening when we go out. Now we've got a glove we can flip off to the side and let it dry, grab another one, and without any problem. There's no liners in it. We have all the flexibility in the world if you're grabbing a manure fork or so forth. But anyway, these things work wonderful. I really like them. They're not going to, you can't protect you in sub-zero. You're going to have to end up doing something with your fingers. But in most areas around here with the cold and the wet, these are going to work out just fine. So anything else?
That's it.
Okay, folks. Thank you all very much for coming by to visit with me again. And I'll try to pick up some more of these little tidbits to push along that things we do and we've done over the years that have worked well for us to help you when you start to get out there, that you don't have to necessarily stumble through some of the same stuff we stumbled through and went, oh God, my hands are frozen to death. Okay, you guys have a great evening, and afternoon, morning, whenever you're watching this. But if you please remember to ride as often as you can. But for goodness sakes, please ride safely. I want to see you all back here again for the next one. So long, folks.